In our headlines on this Friday, July 18th, here in South Korea, torrential rain continues to wreak havoc across the country as flash floods and fears of landslides force thousands to evacuate, schools to close, and travel to halt. Also, on this Friday, lawmakers across the aisle approved the president's nominations for the posts of Economy, Foreign and Trade Minister to jumpstart national policy initiatives. Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee passes a defense spending bill for next year that prevents the Defense Department from withdrawing American soldiers stationed here in South Korea without congressional approval. We start here on the national front as flash floods have led to losses of lives, emergency evacuations and property damage. Kim Jung-shil has our top story.
Severe flooding continues across South Korea with heavy rain that began Wednesday, causing widespread damage and evacuations. As of 11 a.m. Friday, 4 people have died, 3 in Chungcheongnam-do and 1 in Gyeonggi-do provinces, while 2 others remain missing in Gwangju, according to the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures headquarters. Over 5,600 people have been evacuated, with more than 3,500 still unable to return home. Roads, bridges, and embankments have collapsed, with nearly 500 public facilities and over 400 private buildings damaged. Nearly 250 schools nationwide have been impacted by the rain, with some closed, others shifting to online classes, and many implementing shorter hours. In Dangjin, Chungcheongnam-do province, the flooding has been particularly devastating. The rain has submerged neighborhoods, blocked roads, and caused widespread damage. Floodwaters have made it difficult for drivers as the wheels of vehicles are nearly submerged, making it dangerous to navigate flooded roads. Fallen trees are also obstructing highways, with emergency crews working to clear debris.
Heavy rain will continue through tomorrow, with up to 50 millimeters per hour expected tonight and tomorrow morning. Some areas could see up to 200 millimeters, with southern regions possibly experiencing up to 300 millimeters.
Woo also urged foreigners in South Korea to stay informed about the weather and follow evacuation instructions sent through emergency text alerts. As the rain continues, authorities are on high alert, bracing for further damage, with more rainfall expected through the weekend. Kim Jung-shil, Arirang News.
And in light of that weather forecast, President Lee Jae-myung cancelled a scheduled town hall and convened instead an emergency response meeting. Our presidential office correspondent Song Yu-jin reports.
Disasters may be inevitable, but their damage, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung says, can be reduced with thorough preparation. That was the key message from the president on Friday as he convened an emergency meeting in response to the heavy rains.
국가의 제1의 책무는 국민의 생명과 안전을 지키는 일입니다. 좀 과하다 싶을 정도로 피해 예방과 사고 예방을 위해서 필요한 자원들을 충분히 배치해야 되겠습니다.
With downpours battering the country for days and already claiming several lives, President Lee postponed a scheduled town hall in the southeastern city of Busan and instead visited the National Disaster and Safety Status Control Center in Seoul. Emphasizing preemptive action, he instructed the Korea Meteorological Administration to issue timely alerts tailored to each region.
취약 지역인 또 취약 국민들인 반지하 또는 독거 주민들 그리고 범람이나 산사태 또 붕괴 함몰 우려가 있는 지역들에 대해서 철저하게 사전 대비를 해야 되겠습니다.
The president also urged local governments to stay in full emergency mode and carry out post-disaster support and recovery efforts without delay. He then received updates on damage assessments and response measures from the Ministry of the Interior and Safety and local authorities.
President Lee spoke to the mayor of Ulsan in detail about why the road wasn't fully closed off, despite prior warnings from residents before the retaining wall collapsed.
The collapse on Wednesday killed a man trapped in his vehicle. Song Yu-jin, Arirang News.
Also, on this Friday, the Parliament has approved the President's nominations for the posts of Economy, Foreign and Trade Minister. Our political correspondent Moon Hae-ryun has the latest on the confirmation hearings.
South Korea's National Assembly has approved confirmation hearing reports for 3 high-profile ministerial nominees, including the government's top economic and foreign policy positions. On Friday, lawmakers adopted reports for Koo Yoon-chol, chosen to serve as Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Economy and Finance, Cho Hyun, nominated for Foreign Minister, and Kim Jong-kwan, the pick for Trade Minister. The opposition People Power Party, which had initially vowed to withhold approval for the cabinet's nominees, ultimately agreed to move forward with those seen as essential to national policy.
With less than 2 weeks left before the U.S. begins imposing reciprocal tariffs, this is an urgent situation. We'll do our part to make sure the confirmation reports for the finance, foreign, and trade ministers are adopted quickly so they can get to work on the tariff negotiations right away.
The new administration needs to complete its cabinet as soon as possible and focus fully on running the country. That's the only way we can not only help people recover from economic hardships, but also respond swiftly and effectively to disasters like the recent heavy rains.
But not all nominees have been given the green light. Confirmation hearings continued on Friday for the administration's final batch of nominees for the week. Among them were Chung Eun-kyung, the nominee for Minister of Health and Welfare, and Yoon Ho-jung, up for Interior and Safety Minister. Chung, the former head of the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, acknowledged challenges such as South Korea's aging population and outlined plans to push forward expanding healthcare benefits for children and the elderly.
The ministry must double down on its core mission, strengthening the social security system and improving public health to ensure a basic standard of living for all citizens.
Yoon, a 5-term sitting lawmaker, pledged to prioritize AI innovation and balance national development led by districts outside the capital region. Meanwhile, 2 more nominees for Land Minister and Culture Minister are still awaiting their confirmation hearings. The PPP also continues to hold firm against 2 other controversial picks, Lee Jin-suk for Education Minister and Kang Son-woo for Gender Equality Minister, citing allegations of academic misconduct and abuse of authority, respectively. As President Lee looks to finalize his first cabinet, the outcome of these final hearings and the political tensions around them could help shape the early direction of his administration. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the South Korean economy remains vulnerable to persistent challenges, including sluggish spending and construction investment, but consumer sentiment appears to be improving. Our correspondent Moon Ji-young covers the economic assessment for July by the Finance Ministry.
South Korea's economy continues to face downward pressure due to a delayed recovery in domestic demand and ongoing trade risks. But some positive signs, such as improving consumer sentiment, are emerging. That's according to the latest Economic Green Book, a monthly economic assessment report released by the Finance Ministry on Friday. This also marks the 7th consecutive month that the government stated that the economy faces downside pressure. However, the ministry slightly toned down its assessment by omitting the term increasing in reference to downside risks.
Recent downward pressure on the Korean economy is largely due to the slow recovery of domestic demand, particularly in consumption and construction investment, coupled with persistent employment difficulties in vulnerable sectors and worsening external conditions stemming from U.S. tariff impositions. However, we're also starting to see some positive signs, like an improvement in consumer sentiment.
He added that while downward factors previously dominated, both upward and downward factors are now coexisting.
It seems the recent significant rise in stock prices and expectations for supplementary budget projects are positively influencing consumer sentiment. There's potential for these factors to continue to positively affect consumption in the future.
Despite these positive signals, trade risks in exports remain a significant concern as the August 1st deadline for tariff negotiations approaches. The ministry analyzed that exports in June rose by 4.3% compared to the same month last year, largely attributed to improved semiconductor market conditions and pull-forward demand before the end of the pause on U.S. reciprocal tariffs. To boost economic and livelihood recovery, the ministry has pledged to swiftly execute a supplementary budget worth 31.8 trillion won, or around $23 billion. It also reaffirmed its efforts to ensure that the livelihood recovery consumption coupons, scheduled for distribution from July 21st, become a catalyst for revitalizing domestic demand, including consumption and local economies. To address trade risks, the government said it is committed to providing comprehensive support for Korean companies affected by U.S. tariff impositions. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
In other news, South Korea says no contamination has been detected in the West Sea from North Korea's Ulsan uranium plant wastewater. A two-week probe by agencies here, including the Nuclear Safety Commission, found no contamination at 10 sites along the West Sea and nearby rivers. Uranium, cesium and heavy metals remained consistent with past levels, and radioactive cesium was not detected. The government nonetheless will continue its monitoring at several key locations amid satellite analysis suggesting wastewater flow from North Korea into the West Sea. A U.S. defense spending bill for next year, recently passed by the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee, prevents the Pentagon from withdrawing American soldiers stationed here in South Korea in the absence of congressional approval. Our Lee Seung-jae has details.
For the first time in 5 years, the National Defense Authorization Act for the 2026 fiscal year includes a ban on using funds to reduce the number of U.S. Forces Korea troops below the current level of 28,500. The U.S. Defense Policy Bill was posted on the Congress's website on Thursday, where it affirmed the reinforcement of the ROK-U.S. alliance by maintaining the current USFK troop level. The bill reads, "Amounts authorized to be appropriated by this act may not be obligated or expended to reduce the total number of members of the armed forces permanently stationed in or deployed to the Republic of Korea below 28,500, or to complete the transition of wartime operational control of the United States Republic of Korea Combined Forces Command from the United States-led command to Republic of Korea-led command." However, the NDAA leaves open the possibility of using defense funds for a USFK reduction or OPCON transition if it is in the national security interest of the United States, adding that the action could only be undertaken after proper consultations with its allies, including South Korea, Japan, and other countries that have sent military contributions to the UN command. The ban was previously included in the NDAA from the 2019 to 2021 fiscal years to prevent any potential unilateral reduction during the first Trump administration. However, it was removed from the bill during the former President Joe Biden's term in office. It's the first time that the Senate added a ban on the use of funds for the completion of wartime OPCON transfer. The latest bill comes amid speculation that the Trump administration could reduce the number of USFK and ask Seoul to increase spending for its own defense. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Prehistoric rock carvings in the southeastern Korean city of Ulsan recently secured UNESCO World Heritage recognition. Our Choi Seong covers the implications of this latest acknowledgement.
Petroglyphs along the Pangucheon stream in Ulsan became South Korea's 70th entry on the UNESCO World Heritage List. These are carvings made on rock walls beside the stream by prehistoric people who lived on the Korean peninsula about 6,000 years ago. This is South Korea's first UNESCO World Heritage listing on petroglyphs that show prehistoric life and possible beliefs.
This inscription is especially meaningful as it marks the first petroglyph site in all of Asia to be recognized by UNESCO. Until now, only 7 countries, including Russia, Algeria, and Brazil, had petroglyphs on the World Heritage List. South Korea is the first in East Asia to achieve this.
On July 12th in Paris, the World Heritage Committee recognized the Pangucheon petroglyphs as masterpieces of human creativity, showcasing the artistic and unique skills of ancient people living along coastal areas of the Korean peninsula. Especially the committee said those featuring whales and whaling were a historically important record of outstanding universal value.
Whale inscriptions are extremely rare worldwide. These petroglyphs uniquely show not only different whale species, but also detailed hunting methods. With little written record from prehistoric times, the Pangucheon petroglyphs provide invaluable insight into the lives and creativity of early humans.
Following its addition to the UNESCO tentative list in 2010, the full listing has finally come to fruition after 15 years. Notably, it is the second prehistoric heritage site in Korea to gain World Heritage status after the dolmen in Ganghwa in the country's western region. Due to its location near a stream and risk of flooding, the World Heritage Committee recommended reporting progress on flood prevention measures and firmly involving local communities in site management. The Korea Heritage Service also made special efforts to ensure their preservation, contributing to the successful listing.
To be listed as a World Heritage Site, its value must be clearly identified and well preserved through strong management plans. All efforts need to meet UNESCO standards. We prepared thoroughly in these areas, which led to its successful listing.
South Korea has 13 sites on the UNESCO tentative list, including the second phase of tidal floods, Seoul's old city walls, and Busan's wartime heritage are under review. Choi Seong, Arirang News.
And on the entertainment front, Netflix's animation Kpop Demon Hunters continues to make headlines with its original storytelling and intriguing blend of Korean culture. Our An Sung-jin files this report.
A demon boy band?
K-pop, an animation combining to create a global sensation. The Netflix movie Kpop Demon Hunters, which tells the story of a K-pop girl group and their secret identities as demon hunters, topped charts in 41 countries within the first week of its release on June 20. Its original soundtrack album also dominated global music charts, ranking second on the Billboard 200 and 8 individual tracks topping a variety of other charts. But it's not only the visuals and music. The movie is made even more special by incorporating Korean tradition and culture, even embedding aspects of shamanism.
Netflix has a lot of reach all over the world, so whoever did not know about the Korean culture before was introduced in some way or another.
Also just like the K-pop part, you know, it was a good way to combine something that's so mainstream these days and Korean culture. I think it was also a good way to educate people about Korean culture.
And this explosive craze for the animated film has resulted in a sales boost for products which bear a resemblance to characters and items that appear on screen. In fact, at the gift store at the National Museum of Korea, items including tiger and magpie badges and a pen featuring a Gov't, or traditional Korean hat, saw a huge uptick in sales.
This seems to be an opportunity to share Korean traditional culture with global consumers through content. Hallyu at the moment is trending with a lot of interest, so we hope to further work on disseminating our culture through these products.
The presence of such traditional icons play a true role in disseminating Korean culture beyond K-pop.
Not only is it very well made, but it's the Korean elements that become interesting and refreshing for Western viewers. With their popularity, these films serve as culture ambassadors, often more effective than government campaigns.
By blending Korean heritage with intriguing storytelling and catchy rhythms, Kpop Demon Hunters has turned into a trendsetter for global fans, fueling further interest in Korea's cultural icons. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Also on Netflix, Korean content reportedly pushed up profits for this streaming service during the second quarter. According to Netflix officials, original animation Kpop Demon Hunters and drama series Squid Game Season 3 were among the screen productions that led to better than expected earnings. In fact, Revenue rose almost 16% in the second quarter on year, amounting to over $11 billion. And on the K-pop front, a new boy band is gaining quite a bit of attention here in South Korea as some of its members hail from North Korea. My colleague Park Gun-woo met up with them.
Alone, they're just individuals with different verses, but together, they create a story, a song, and a universe. That's how you could describe this brand new 5-piece K-pop group, Universe, which has 2 members who are North Korean defectors. It's extremely rare to see North Korean-born idol stars debut on the K-pop scene, which makes you wonder how they first got into K-pop.
I came across FX's La Cha Ta music video when I was young and heard K-pop songs through USBs passed around secretly.
Coming to South Korea at a young age was already a dangerous journey, but their struggle didn't end there.
My beloved family were still in the north, and while coming here allowed me to finally dream, I still felt like the loneliest of the lonely. The biggest battle was with myself, a fight I kept losing, but just having our members by my side filled that emptiness and gave me strength.
Even language was a hurdle, especially for rap.
I naturally speak in a North Korean dialect, but when I rap, I train myself to turn it off. As for English, I started with the ABCs and kept practicing until it finally started to feel natural.
Other members, Asian Americans Kenny and Nathan, and Japanese Aito also faced their own challenges.
Hardest part about training was the barrier of cultural barrier, right? So there's a lot of getting used to that, and also sentence structures. So I had to learn how to shape my mind into a Korean person.
Well, I've never been away from family for the past 23 years of my life. There's a lot of adjustment to do. However, with the guys now and the staff and everyone, they're like my second families.
Despite their different backgrounds, they found common ground in pursuing their dreams through music.
With diversity being a factor in our group, we learned that, hey, everyone's story is important, everyone matters, and everyone deserves to be heard and deserves to be respected, despite wherever they come from.
They hope to be of comfort to others, and that very hope is what's guiding them toward their own dreams.
I had a time when I didn't even look up at the sky. Those hard times live in my lyrics now. To anyone watching us, even from the north, I want to say, dream.
5 different dreams in one universe. Universe is showing that K-pop no longer solely belongs to South Korea, but to those with dreams and passion, regardless of where they're from. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
Rain is pouring down across the country today. By tomorrow, there will be as much as 300 millimeters or more of heavy rain in Jeollanam-do province and Gyeongsang-nam-do province, and more than 200 millimeters in the Chungcheong-do provinces and Gyeongsang-buk-do province, as well as up to 100 millimeters of rain in Seoul. There will be strong winds all over the country by tomorrow. In particular, there will be gusty winds of around 20 meters per second in the mountainous area. Currently, landslide warnings have been issued in the Chungcheong-do, Jeollado, and Gyeongsang-buk-do provinces. Please take extra precautions. Morning temperatures will start off at around 23 to 26 degrees across the country. Daily highs move up to 29 degrees in Seoul, Busan, and Chuncheon, 32 degrees in Jeju. Rain in the Seoul metropolitan area and western parts of Gangwon-do province will continue until Sunday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.